specifically happened to spur your second half hitting renaissance? It just seemed like something turned on. Was it a timing mechanism? Was it your familiarity with Major League pitching? But I'm just, in all the work that you do, when was there a moment that you said, okay, I think I'm starting to get this?
Well, both of those things are the timing and yeah. I mean, you're nothing without timing, first and foremost. So I don't stand a chance in the box if I'm not ready to go and ready to hit the 95 to 100 that we're seeing so much now. But I don't know. I had a day, I think it was actually the last day before the All-Star break, where I hit the 2 homers against St. Louis, and right there I was like, oh, this is it. I'm going into the break on a high note, and then I proceeded to, I think my average dropped another 20-something points for the first 2 weeks after the break. And man, it was just I don't know if it was one thing. I think we did put in so much work, and I think it was more so a culmination of all that. So I think you brought up the familiarity with big league pitching. That was super important for me, being able to actually have some batter pitcher matchup history. So like seeing guys multiple times, and just I think it was every week it was I felt more at home in the batter's box or in center field with my guys, with my team, with my coaches, all that stuff. And I mean, yeah, I think everything's synced up timing wise, and whatever was going on upstairs in my brain too. I think it was just a culmination of work that we did, because I couldn't pick one day of flips in the cage or anything like that really felt like it turned things around for me. It was just one day where I gave myself a little bit bigger of a leg kick and forced myself to be athletic, I think.
14.08 seconds around the bases, which is, I can't really comprehend that. Do you surprise yourself at times because of the speed in terms of getting a hit and where you end up?
No. I'm going to sound like such a...
No, tell the truth.
I was more... I don't feel like I don't think I've been able to tell if I've gotten faster. I think I've, I'm sure I have, but what was more surprising, with that inside the park home run was the fact that it was as fast as it was, just because I felt like I was pulling a piano around third base. And gosh, I mean, there's so much work that we do in the off season for speed, and I was just so lucky to have my legs feeling as good as they did, and at that point in the year. But no, I don't think I'm ever surprised with myself. I know what I can kind of create with my speed. I think in the outfield is when I actually tend to surprise myself a little bit more than on the bases.
I think when I look at a next step for you, obviously it's replicating that second half, but it's getting that walk percentage up, getting the strikeout percentage down, while also keeping the aggressiveness and the power. So each week we're lucky enough to talk to your guy, Ian Happ, who's been part of the show for years. And I love watching him hit sometimes. I love watching him take pitches, especially when he's down in the count early, when he's decided to maybe take a couple of aggressive shots at early in the count and then work his way back and accept his walk. Is that there for you? Is that something you actively can work on? Because I know that's kind of the secret sauce of being great, of being able, knowing there may be one or two pitches every plate appearance that you can turn and burn on. And if you don't, and a walk is perfectly fine, because it might end up being the equivalent of a triple for you.
Yeah, well, I think after this year, I definitely understand the value in walks specifically for myself. I mean, Ian's a great example though, where, and it's funny, man. You see all of the guys that are getting paid right now, like their on base percentage is really good, and I mean, Juan Soto's an extreme example because he's a top 5, 3 player in all of baseball. But it was interesting watching him in the World Series, because it was like, dang, man, you could just tell that a guy like that, he runs into home runs, just like anybody. And what the difference is like, how it seemed like he made the pitcher feel by taking a pitch where, you know, whether it was borderline or not. I think guys like Ian, guys like Juan Soto, they're very good at giving ground to gain ground. And, you know, I think that this game is all about giving and taking. You got to be okay sacrificing certain pitches, all, you know, and everything that you kind of do during an at-bat is to get gifted with that pitch that you weren't really supposed to get. And, you know, again, guys like Soto, guys like Ian, they just take advantage of the mistakes. But getting your swing off and everything, like, that's important, but it's also important to be situational with things. And I think that's another thing that I got a better feel of towards the end of the year. Just being able to understand situations and figure out when it is okay to get a swing off or whatever it was. But, you know, I've seen Ian do some pretty cool things on the baseball field, but his consistency and how he, you know, makes his presence known in the box by just being able to get on first base so much is huge.
You're now teammates with Kyle Tucker. Big offseason move by the Cubs. I'm just curious as to if you've talked to him at all, if you know him at all, and what your reaction was to that big move by the Cubs.
Yeah, well, big move. I've never met Kyle. It's hard to ever cross paths with other outfielders during the year just because you don't actually pass them by on the field that much. But watching from afar and watching on TV, like, I mean, the guy is a special baseball player. I mean, you know, losing Cody is what it is, and you know, I wasn't happy to lose Cody because he's a great person for our clubhouse and an unbelievable person just to spend time with. But what I have heard and what I've seen about Mr. Tucker is only good, and I think he's going to add a lot to our situation too. You know, being able to hold down right field every day. He adds so much to our situation. I think that I'm just really looking forward to finding out what that looks like in person.
After a full season now in the major leagues under your belt, 410 plate appearances in the show, have you learned and how far do you have to come on the mental side of things, which I think separates the guys who are able to become stars from those who aren't, and being able to handle failure, being able to understand the routine and the grind and the fact that this is a job? Does that take work? Do you know when you're starting to beat yourself up a little too much? Do you know when you start to get a little too high rather than a little too low? Because it's not easy.
No, it's not. I like the way that was phrased. I think I've probably treated this like a job for too long. And not in a bad way. I just think that I love taking this game seriously because it's not a serious game, but you have to be serious about what you do in it and how you set yourself up to just play 9 innings every day. And I think it's going to sound crazy, but like once I realized I wasn't supposed to go 3 for 4 every day was when I saw that more. And I think, yeah, as the year went on and as I just got, and to the topic earlier about the second half turnaround, it's like, it was just a matter of time in my eyes. You know, I was doing the right work. I was preparing the right way. I became pretty monotonous in my routine. And, you know, what counts kind of relayed to me that made me feel somewhat fulfilled was, you know, he was just glad that I showed him I could be ready to play every day. And I showed him that through what happens, you know, underground in the clubhouse and the cages and so on. So, you know, I love treating this game like a job because it's the best job to have, and I'm very lucky to be able to do so. But, you know, I think next year I'm really excited to see where I do take things mentally because I have come a long way, and I'm excited to be a little kinder to myself in terms of the failure side of things and everything hard about this game that I actually came to really enjoy towards the end of the year. I love how hard this is, and I love how gratifying this game can be.
You gave us 97 games last year before you got caught stealing. This is the thing I'm going to be watching next year. Can you make it through a season without getting caught with the new rules? No, listen. He stole 23 bases before he got caught. And it was mid-August before he got caught stealing.
If you're not getting caught, you're not trying enough.
What? I believe in your speed, PCA. Don't listen to Dan. I believe in it. Because I know you knew you hadn't been caught.
I mean, gosh, what am I supposed to say? I mean, no, I can't get through a whole season without getting caught. You run into way too many good arms and good throwers, but I've been on the same field as a lot of really good catching brains. You know, no, there's no chance in hell that I'll ever go perfect, but
27 out of 30 ain't bad. I mean,
no, it's not, and I still should have had more, but that's because I probably stopped running a little bit. I did get scared a couple times when I got caught, and that was half the battle, you know, was not being afraid to move my legs forward and get thrown out, you know.
So it looked like you had fun at the outdoor hockey game. I know you were mic'd up, and we never know because they were not going to use probably all the best stuff. They're going to use some of the G-rated stuff, obviously, but that looked like a hell of an experience.
It was unbelievable. The whole weekend was, or the whole 2 days. I don't even think it was the weekend, but we got to go down to the clubhouse, see what they did to the place, and meet a lot of the guys, and you know, from Seth Jones to freaking Craig Smith to whoever. You know, Foligno was unbelievably nice coming up to us. He was one of the first people to come introduce himself, and you know, I know it's been maybe a tough last couple of years for the Hawks, but they definitely got some good guys in that locker room, and you know, I got all the respect in the world for the job that they do. That is a hard-nosed line of work, and those guys
yes.
those guys are some bad men. So no, that was such a blast getting to sit up close, and I mean, even the day before we were at practice, and we got to listen to the sights and sounds of a day in the life of a hockey player, and that was special for sure.
I always wonder, like, for you to track, you say 95, and be ready to have that foot down, be ready to rock and roll. When you see a guy who is in front of the net, you know, deep slot, and then you've got that thing coming at you also at 95, but it's your job to get your stick blade on it, deflect it on the goal behind you while somebody is coming to take your head off.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Well, the tiny puck that it doesn't feel so tiny after I picked it up. The fact that has to make it through so many bodies to actually find the net is the craziest part, that the goalie has to sift through all the moving parts to actually be able to stop the puck at all. So, I mean, it looks like it'd be a fun sport to be really good at.
That's an interesting way to put it. Yes. It's probably not as much fun to not be so good. Pete, this is really fun, and I hope you have a blast this weekend, and here's to a terrific and healthy year for you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for getting me on a little early, too. I know I pushed the envelope a little bit.
No, we got you.
No, you're good.
No worries.
You're good. Thanks so much, Pete.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
That is Cubs center fielder Pete Crow-Armstrong.